Who are my favorite apologists? Well, first, it might be wise for us to define our term. Apologetics is the science of defending the faith. An apologist is one who's devoted themselves to that labor to defend the truthfulness of the Christian faith, to defend the orthodoxy of the Christian faith. And there have been and continue to be multitudes of men and women who've been committed to this godly endeavor, to being prepared to give an answer for the hope that is in us. We see the Apostle Paul engaged in the apologetic endeavor when he's at Mars Hill and he's speaking to the folks who gather there and speaks to them about the unknown God. Paul is not going to make my list because I'm going to exclude people from the Bible. But I want to give you a list of some of the apologists that I have admired over the years. And there's a reason for that, because so much of what I'm seeking to do with these Ask RC recordings is the work of an apologist. I've been a professor of apologetics. I've written apologetical books. So this is up my bailiwick, and if you have been enjoying these Ask RCs, I thought it might be good to bring to bear my spiritual gift, which is the gift of bibliography, to recommend that you would read others. So I've made a list of my 5 favorite apologists through the centuries, and before I get to that list, I want to give a couple of honorable mentions. One of those should go to my father's mentor, who was a great hero to me, Dr. John Gardner, who I had the privilege of knowing, I had the privilege of studying under, I had the privilege of having a close personal relationship with, and whose absolute bear trap mind I got to watch in action. He was just a phenomenal mind. Now, what most people don't know about him is that he was also a profoundly humble and godly man. Unfortunately for me, I didn't admire that as much as I loved the sharpness of his mind. So he's on my my list of honorable mentions. I would also put on that list Josh McDowell. Josh McDowell is a popular apologist doing that work in a less academic setting, but that doesn't make him any less smart, it doesn't make him any less earnest, nor does it make him any less godly. He's a fine godly man, and I've been blessed by him enormously. So those 2 are going to be the top 2 in my honorable mention list. But let's get down to my 5 favorites very quickly. And I'm going to start with number 5 with Thomas Aquinas, who was the apologist's apologist. Aquinas was probably the greatest towering mind of the last 1,000 years. He was an absolute genius, and his work in cultivating and developing his 5 classic arguments has been unparalleled. Whether or not Aquinas comes down as a Roman Catholic or anachronistically as a Protestant is a story for another time. John Gardner, by the way, believed that Aquinas was in principle a Protestant. But that's beside our point here. In terms of defending the existence of God, in terms of defending his godness, Aquinas was just an absolute giant. Now that's going to be number 5. Number 4 is going to be Dr. Gordon Clark. Dr. Gordon Clark was a professor of philosophy for most of his career at Butler University. Well-read, well-written Christian philosopher. 2 books that I commend to your reading: his History of Philosophy, that I've used multiple times in class situations. It's called Thales to Dewey. It's just genius. But also his book, A Christian View of God and Things, is just mind-blowing. He is a genius. He is like he's good. That's number 4. Number 3, I'm going to put G.K. Chesterton. Again, Roman Catholic, but his strength is not in dealing with the issues that separate Rome and Protestantism, but dealing with things that are held in common. His approach to apologetics is less scientific, more personal. You've got to read orthodoxy. It'll blow your socks off. That's the one thing. And then I won't have to ask you to read more because you'll want to. So that's Aquinas, Clarke, Chesterton. Number 2, C.S. Lewis. Again, not a professional theologian, but a guy who had a piercing insight, a tender heart, and a ready pen. I'm just very few people have had more impact on my life than him. Finally, number 1 on my list is one person who's had more impact on my life than C.S. Lewis, and that is Dr. R.C. Sproul, my father. I grew up listening to him do the work of an apologist. It strengthened my faith. It filled me with gratitude for him. I encourage you to read him far and wide.